joining us. I'm hoping a few more in the audience will join us. But today we're bringing together actually a couple of people on the crossroads of science, technology, investment, and company building. Some really exciting people here today. We've got Zied from Mylan Z, we've got Bart from KU Leuven, and then we've got Shelley from VBio Ventures. So perhaps we can start with individual introductions so the audience know who we are. Zied, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, of course. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. My name is Geeraerts and I'm one of the founders of Mylan's. We're building the next generation of neural interfaces, a new neurotechnology company to monitor and improve brain health anytime, anywhere.
Thank you. And you, Bart?
Yeah, my name is Bart Geeraerts, based in Leuven in Belgium. Working for KU Leuven Research and Development as an investment manager. So we invest into our local ecosystem, coming from KU Leuven, investing specifically for myself in biotech companies and creating an ecosystem in Leuven, Flanders.
Thank you very much. And you, Shelley?
Yeah, Shelley Margetson. Great to be here. I have a finance business background, have been CFO, CEO of various companies biotech companies in Europe. But since 2020, I'm managing partner of VBio Ventures, which is an early stage investor based in Belgium, but we do invest across the borders as well. So, therapeutics, I should say.
Thank you very much. So actually, I'm going to start with a big question, I think, which defines the whole reason for this conversation. So from your perspective, because obviously, Zied, you have a location in Leuven, you're connected to Leuven, you're a UK company, but we're attracted to Leuven. What do you think, what makes Flanders a compelling landing spot for UK companies looking to expand in the EU? What do you think is the thing?
Yeah, I'd be remiss not to mention our investor, IMEC. They've built this brilliant tech and investment ecosystem whose impact has reverberated across the region. So we've been working with them for about 2 years, and they are second to none. They really know their beans. So that's one thing. Over and above, I would say the university itself is off the charts good. I mean, you do have easy access to talent and experts and a university hospital. And we've been running different pilot studies and different sort of projects with the university. And the last thing is people. I just feel like people are warm. It's just like there is that warmth, and when you join the ecosystem, you feel that sense of togetherness and camaraderie, and that's unquestionably very much needed in the early days.
Excellent. And you mentioned the university. Obviously, we're talking about KU Leuven. Bart, you're based there. What do you think for UK companies? What could be the attraction point then?
The attraction point for UK companies, actually, we did already do some inbound UK investment in the past. Was a company named Handle Therapeutics, which we sold to UCB Pharma back in the days. And there, let's say, the reason for that company to locate to Flanders was the accessibility, first of all, to talent, because in Flanders, Belgium, you have access to one of the best skilled workforces, specifically in the biotechnology domain. And this was also emphasized by the Handel founders and also by, at the end of the day, our pharma partner, UCB Pharma, at today. But also the fact that we have an ecosystem which actively and proactively invests in inbound cases, but also in our own cases, doing technology transfer for more than 50 years. So not only the ecosystem, but also the technology we can offer is of interest to companies that want to locate in Flanders and in Leuven, but also at VIB and in all the other counterparts. We are quite pragmatic.
Yes, that's
in the
true.
way we deal with that.
Yes, yeah, I can only say yes. But Shelley, is that something you see as well? That's an attraction point?
I think the attraction, Belgium's quite a small country,
Yes,
so it's easily overlooked, and I think it's easily ignored.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many successful biotech companies has come out of Flanders, you know, so Belgium as a whole, but then part of that is Flanders. How many successful biotech companies have come out of that? You know, Argenix, Ablinks, just to name two, and there's many, many more. So it's incredible knowledge there, what you said from the universities, you know, extremely good academics, the talent, and what is also very, very pronounced in Flanders is the non-dilutive funding that is available in Flanders. So you've got grants that are available to companies from a very early stage, actually, because VBio invests in early stage companies, so literally spinning out companies, starting them up. The moment you have one FTE, you're eligible to quite a lot of non-dilutive funding.
And actually that's our sister organisation, BioTrinity, that can help with those things. So, yeah, I would totally agree with you. And if we pull it out, pull it further out and just think about UK companies looking at Europe, what do you think is the most overlooked advantage of establishing a biotech in Europe as a whole? Because that's what we're looking at, the relationship UK-Europe. And most of the UK companies probably look at the US, but if we look at Europe, what is the thing that they mostly overlook in Europe? Sorry, that's quite funny.
No, I'm sorry, I laugh because I was chatting to someone this morning and they said, it's the train infrastructure. So I had to throw that out here just in case he's in the audience. But yes, great trains, but so much more. I think clinical trials, there's huge numbers of clinical trials ongoing in Flanders and again, overlooked by people because they don't often know about Belgium, about Flanders, but the expertise in clinical trials is huge in Flanders. So what is often overlooked, I would say coming to Flanders, it gives you access to good science, and if you already bring your own science, access to great academia that can help you facilitate to progress it further, non-dilutive funding, great investors, if I say so myself, you know, not only VBio, there are others as well. You know, we have great syndicate parties that we syndicate with to fund starting companies, fledgling partners, not only in Belgium but across the border as well. So we can start small and then, you know, just to give you one example of one of the companies that we started in 2016, I think, called Agomap. I'm sure, Bart, you know it well. It was IP from Italy. And we actually said it's antibodies, so the antibody field in Belgium is really, really strong. The expertise is great. You should bring it to Belgium, then we'll invest in you. They did that. They built a very, very successful company, and earlier this year they listed on the Nasdaq. So
amazing.
Just to show you, it was a loan of 100,000 was our first investment, and within 10 years that has now grown out to an IPO listed, a Nasdaq listed company. So and that is the expertise, the infrastructure, and that's all the way through from very, very early stage right through to clinical trials.
That's a success story, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolute success story. And then Ziet, just when companies post-Brexit, they look at finding a landing spot. What should they prioritize when they choose a landing spot? Obviously, you've got a couple of locations with your company,
correct,
but what do you think should they prioritize when looking for a landing spot?
I think it boils down to three different things which we call the lifeblood of any company: capital, talent, and infrastructure. So, and I genuinely believe the region like Flanders has got those sort of three key ingredients. The capital, I mean, IMEC, iStart, Future Fund, they invest across the board. Infrastructure, which is absolutely, you know, fabulous, and sort of the talent through the university.
Great, thank you. And you know, when you know, it's all great to hear that we've got fantastic science in Belgium. We've got the scientists, good human capital, but a university, and I'm looking especially at Bart, still needs to spin out companies and successfully commercialize them. And not every region can do that. Not every university can do that. What do you think are the points of success in Flanders? That why, for example, KU Leuven does it so successfully?
Why is that? Is that Flanders is one of the only regions outside of the UK, because the larger institutes in the UK, being Oxford, Cambridge, and some of the institutes in the north of England, have been working in, let's say, valorization, as we call valorization of academic research. In Leuven, we have been doing that for more than 50 years right now, which means that we have been gaining experience and network in the market. And a testament to that is the number of deals we have had in the past. From our institute, we have had quite a deal with Genentech in the late 80s, early 90s still, on TPA as a product, which was a licensed product coming on from Leuven. And we have also had a very deep and good deal with Gilead on the tenofovir compound, which is an active license for more than 20 years and which actually changed the life of many HIV patients. And because we have been engaging in technology transfer for a long time, we have a long-standing relationship with the outside world, with the companies out there, so they know the way to Leuven. What we also do is we proactively manage our relationships with those people, and also proactively manage the relationship with the financing and with the venture capital funds. So as a region, we are, how do I say it? As a region, we have the experience on the top level, on a global scale, more than 50 years of experience in deal making, in financing companies, and that's what stands out actually, really on a European scale, and on par, as I may say it, with the top institutes in the UK.
And obviously with that experience that attracts companies, foreign companies in, and builds the ecosystem up, companies like Zied's company, which makes a huge difference and creates a vibrant ecosystem. But obviously none of those companies can come, like Zied mentioned, without funding. And Shelley, that's where you're very active in. Companies need capital. What is the capital market like for, but you're investing in very early stage, but mid stage. What is a typical investment round, say in Flanders? What can companies find?
I think Flanders is no different from everywhere else, where early stage is starting to struggle. I've got to be honest about that. We can say it's all fantastic, but we can also see that there's plenty of money, I think, in the market. There is money available, but bigger rounds are going to fewer companies. And that does make it hard to get the first the companies, you know, when they're coming out from academia to get funded. And that's why I think what is so important that Flanders does well, and what you mentioned, Bart, is the connection of the TTOs with the investors as well. So ongoing dialogue, not only when they want to raise money for a project, but already ongoing, keeping you informed, knowing what projects are coming up, so that you're ready for it and you're already familiar with the project even when it becomes ready to be funded. And I think that continuous dialogue, that interaction, does make a real difference in the successful spinning out of companies. But it is a tough market. I mean, in Flanders as well.
And obviously there's the undiluted funding which you can gain, and that helps. I'm not saying to prop up, but to kind of support those early stage companies in the development and the innovation, where Zied has definitely had the advantage of using. How have you found it in Flanders, working with IMEC specifically, going through the IMEC iStart program, and then the Future Fund? How was that for you?
It's been quite helpful, really. As you rightly pointed out, the funding landscape today is quite tough, particularly you know, at the seed stage. So receiving that initial ticket was about 250k just to help you unlock the first milestones. And success breeds success. And obviously when you have a name like IMEC with you on the shoulders of a giant, you tend to see better. So that basically helps attract more investors, and that has been superb. We've just welcomed the Future Fund, and we've also now discussed with the Vlayu, I reckon the name is,
yes.
to basically have access to their non-dilutive funding. And I'm absolutely sort of pleasantly surprised with sort of the different funding schemes they've got in the country and in the region. So overall, it's been superb. It's been lovely, and really look forward to continuing this to work with.
And you've been working with us, obviously, as a regional development agency. We support companies like Zeeds from the UK into Flanders, but Vlaio, for example, with the funding, they've got people behind the scenes who support the companies, who go through every step of the way, from filling in the form to actually, handing it in. And then there's a very high chance, 80 to 90% chance of getting that funding, which is, as a percentage, is something highly unusual compared to, say, other countries in Europe and beyond. So I think that's something we can be very proud of, and very, something we can say, look, that it's a fantastic tool.
I think you're right, Astrid, to highlight that. Actually, it's not a black box. It's not you apply for the grant, and if you get a no, that's it. You can get feedback. You can have meetings with them. You can reapply. If you are one of the small percentage that doesn't get it, they'll give you advice. They'll recommend what you need to do to kind of reapply, and then potentially, or most likely, actually, the success rate is very, very high, and it's absolutely critical, I would say, for companies in your phase to kind of get that kind of cash. So that's an absolute huge
I think so. And we can talk about that to many potential investors. The other thing that I'm always thinking about is Flanders' capabilities, but equally across Europe, the capabilities, that there's a certain amount of competition. What Zeed does with his neurotech and so on has a crossover with many other types, with AI, diagnostics, engineering, and so on. So how do you find that in Flanders? How have you found a crossover of different areas of research?
I think what is particularly strong is everything around clinical trials, medical devices, and clinical research. They are brilliant when it comes to that sort of area. We've got other applications of our technology. It's a dual use. We also do a bit of work in defense, in other areas, and overall, working with those university hospitals has been brilliant. We have access to high quality data sets, you feel like it's very easy to navigate the whole ecosystem and to interact with people, and that's something. For instance, for instance, working here in the UK with the NHS is extraordinarily complicated. It's hard to basically run pilot studies, and you just get stuck in the weeds. And something which is really good in Flanders is those university hospitals and the access to rich and high quality data sets very easily. Is
that something you find that's easily done at KU Leuven?
Yeah, of course. I think the advantage of Flanders as a region is the fact that it's small, but let's say densely populated with let's say very good hospitals, academic hospitals that have been excelling also in clinical research for decades, meaning that they know how to do it. There is a lot of know-how in, you come to a clinical investigator, there is an organization behind it, and because it's small, there is also the distance between the clinical investigator and the regulatory authority is not that huge. While in a larger country like the United States or the UK, because it's simply larger, the distance to your regulatory authority is larger.
Yeah.
So we interact quite often with the regulatory authority, with the authorities, and this allows to smoothen the process for clinical trial application. Also, regulatory authorities are willing to learn. And they maintain a close relationship with us. And that's the reason why, and a testament to that are the figures and the numbers, that in our region, we are running more than 1,000 clinical trials on a yearly basis.
Yeah, yeah. And what I've also found is, obviously we can talk about your own region, but the link with the outside world, meaning we're not isolated. We need to work together. Collaboration with other regions, with other countries is so very important. So circling back to the UK, for us strategically, because we're so small, it is very important to keep working together with a country like the UK, with the other European regions. As a university, I imagine you see that an awful lot, that collaboration.
Yeah.
ZEED is obviously a testament of the collaboration and the working together. Do you see that in funding? Because you have invested in a UK company as well?
We've invested in a UK company, so yes, we see that kind of exposure in the UK with finding companies ourselves to invest in, but also to find fellow VCs to join syndicates in maybe a Belgian company or French company or Dutch company. So, working together across the borders can only benefit the life sciences as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. And on a university level?
Well, yeah, I think with the UK, our bonds are deep. For example, SKU Leuven, we are a member of the 10U partnership, which is a partnership of several important UK-based universities together with MIT, Harvard. So we maintain close relationships with the top institutes in the UK. And yet again, as exemplified earlier, we are also actively working in our business environment with parties in the UK. We're working a lot in cell and gene therapies. There we are tapping into the UK Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult Network, where we collaborate with companies like Exmore Pharma, etc., etc. Because there you see the entrepreneurial mentality in the UK still is a top level, also compared to mainland Europe. And there is a lot of know-how that we also use and exploit in our business relationships to bring our technologies further. So that's how we operate in a relationship with the UK. And also in the starting companies, as Shadi said, we have a lot of interactions with UK-based venture firms. You name them, Monograph, LifeArc, all of them. We have standing relationships with them. And the distance is once again
it's
not that
very
big.
far.
So
2 hours.
2 hours with the train.
Exactly.
We are there.
Yeah, you're here. And so, Zeed, a question for you. How can UK-EU partnerships accelerate clinical translation, regulatory access, and so how have you found that?
I'd say, so in the UK, we're very good at basically coming up with novel ideas and the science and everything it takes to start the business and get it off the ground. And in Flanders and regions in Belgium, they are very good at basically running the trials and helping you get the right data sets and the patients. And also they've helped us with the protocol design as well, because they do a lot of work with pharma companies. There's a lot of know-how when it comes to sort of designing those trials, and particularly complicated multi-site international clinical trials. So that's the bit which you could benefit from as a UK-based company. Working with those people and the expertise around clinical trials and trial design.
And what I would draw in as well is the communication, because I've heard that with all of you, is that everyone talks to each other, everyone knows each other. So if you need someone or you need to talk to someone will know that person, and that makes it very easy to...
Well integrated.
Yeah,
small,
exactly.
and punches above its weight, as we say.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a few sort of short questions in the end, sort of a fire round question. So short answers, and we will conclude our discussion. So, and I'll ask them to all three of you. So what's the one reason a UK company should consider Flanders?
Is that for me?
Yeah, for you, and then we'll go with all three.
As I've repeatedly mentioned throughout the panel, clinical trial design, know-how, and people. It's people business, isn't it? People are really warm. It just reminds me of Manchester. So it is just, so really warm, nice people, very easy to do business. And then you have brilliant investors like IMEC, and they could basically support you and help you massively throughout the journey.
Well, that's the reason why we sent our best soccer players to Manchester.
To Manchester, right? Fair enough.
So for me, I think the small is good. So well integrated, well connected, and experienced.
Yes.
Experienced to the top level, because it's decades of government investment, decades of energy from academics that went into building an ecosystem, small integrated ecosystem from a top level.
All of the above and non-dilutive funding.
Excellent. That's a very good answer. What is, Zid, the one misconception about European life science ecosystems that one has in the UK?
I think the misconception is perhaps that there is no capital in Europe. It's just like, you tend to get this comparison with America, with the United States, every now and then, but that's not true. There is capital in Europe, but it's just they have to find it, and it's not available to everybody, and that's the thing. So it's quite competitive. It's not like in the US where you've got 15,000 VCs, and across 50 states. It's just like it's hard to find capital, but it does exist.
Yes.
You
probably don't know how to answer that.
I don't know how to answer it. I'm not operating.
No, exactly. Shelley, you might have a.
No, I'm going to plead.
You're going to plead too. Okay, fine.
Not based in the UK. We don't know.
Okay, so you mentioned the US. What's the one thing Europe does better than the US? Because everyone's talking about
tricky one.
Yeah, I know.
What's the word? Frugality. Just doing more with less. I
think that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. And you know what? Sometimes, like they say, what's that say? Constraints breed creativity.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need constraints, financially speaking, just to be able to do things. So I'd say that's the thing, frugality. That's the word.
Excellent. Do you have an idea?
There I can answer. I think Europeans are extremely quality oriented, also in the operating of highly regulated businesses such as the life science ecosystem. So extremely quality oriented and indeed capital efficient, but that's a necessity rather than a luxury in a sense.
Yeah, cost efficiency is one that I would say, and I agree with you, Sid, and I think we have to be careful that we're not going to lose this edge, because the rounds are getting bigger and bigger going into early AI. As I said earlier, there is money available, but it's bigger amounts going to fewer companies. And actually, you're spot on that having to be really cost efficient, focused, razor focused, and letting things fail quickly, rather than throwing more money at it because you have more money, or let's try again. I think that's something that Europe has been very, very good at. And I mean, when I went with the company I worked at, bispecific antibody company, Netherlands, Merus, when we did the crossover round, started to get US investors on board, they were absolutely amazed how much we had achieved with how little money.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that's always good, because having more money, of course, you can advance quicker, but it does mean you remain focused on quality and what works, and stop what doesn't work. So I would agree with that.
And then I've got one last question. I feel slightly uncomfortable about it, but I'm going to ask it. What's the one thing Flanders does better than the rest of Europe? I know we've had fellow other panels here, but I've got to ask it.
But
Bart, that might be a good one for
A
you.
good one for me. I think just referring to the numbers, Flanders is investing more than 3% of the GDP into research and development, which is very, very much above the average in the EU 27. And that's what we do very well, investing in research and development. And testament to that is the result that it gets at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that goes throughout everything because, you know, the IOF kind of funding, that there's industrial research funding comes from the government, gets paid via the university to PIs that have got projects. So there is cash available for science right at the core of where it is being developed, or being discovered, I should say. So yeah, that's absolutely core.
Perfect answer. Thank you all three for joining us today. It's been very insightful. Hopefully we've convinced a few more people to check out Flanders and to come and talk to us. We'd be delighted to give you a bit more information, to provide introductions, and we hope to see you in Flanders soon. Thank you.
Thank you.